So the president of the United States decided to finally speak up about this stimulus package. Most of the things that he's been talking about since the election have had to do with him and trying to get back in office, or trying to stay in office rather. So I agree with him that $600 is not enough for to help. When countries throughout the world are doing far more, in many ways, consistently, and we, the United States, who continue to push the talking point that we're the greatest country, the most coveted country, the country that is the richest country, the greatest country on the earth, and now we look like one of those shithole countries that this president was talking about. I want to show you a video of Mr. Magnificent speaking out.
Throughout the summer, Democrats cruelly blocked COVID relief legislation in an effort to advance their extreme left-wing agenda and influence the election. Then, a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. For example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity, it's called the COVID Relief Bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. This bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt and the Egyptian military, which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military equipment, $25 million for democracy and gender programs in Pakistan, $505 million to Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama, $40 million for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which is not even open for business, $1 billion for the Smithsonian, and an additional $154 million for the National Gallery of Art. Likewise, these facilities are essentially not open. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico, a provision to promote the breeding of fish in federal hatcheries, $3 million in poultry production technology, $2 million to research the impact of down trees, $566 million for construction projects at the FBI. The bill also allows stimulus checks for the family members of illegal aliens, allowing them to get up to $1,800 each. This is far more than the Americans are given. Despite all of this wasteful spending and much more, the $900 billion package provides hardworking taxpayers with only $600 each in relief payments. And not enough money is given to small businesses, and in particular restaurants, whose owners have suffered so grievously. They were only given a deduction for others to use in business their restaurant for 2 years. This 2-year period must be withdrawn, which will allow the owners to obtain financing and get their restaurants back in condition. Congress can terminate it at a much later date, but 2 years is not acceptable. It's not enough. Congress found plenty of money for foreign countries, lobbyists, and special interests, while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it. It wasn't their fault. It was China's fault, not their fault. I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000, or $4,000 for a couple. I am also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
I have to laugh because I'm sorry if it seems insensitive, but in addition to the malarkey, he had he made sure he took the opportunity to slide it in there that he could still possibly be the president of the United States for another term, where I think is comical because he's slowly edging towards the admitting that there's going to be another administration. What I think is interesting is that he called out where the stimulus foreign aid is going to, because that continues to feed his narrative that's anti other people and people of color in other countries. So of course he is going to be calling out Egypt, right? Places where there are people of color and that are receiving aid. But let's talk about all the bailout money that went to big time corporations who are his bosses. Like we're talking about this now, which I think is shitty. And I'm not celebrating the $600 for the American people. I'm not talking exactly the half Black Reaper. Exactly. He is not talking about the money that went to the corporations and not the small businesses. We just found out that Joel Osteen received an obscene amount of money. Kanye West's company received an obscene amount of money. And these small corporations that he is pointing out now and, positioning foreign countries as the enemy for where the dollars are going. And I'm just tired of all of these politicians, right? Joe Biden, his talking points against Latinos and Black people and showing up in ways, and Latinos who are Black people and the intersections thereof. They continuously show us who they are, and we don't listen. I think that it's interesting that now he's, as Jay-Z said, you can't change a player. What he said, you can't change a player in the ninth inning. How is it that now he gives a shit about the American people when people have been dying throughout this entire process since November, and he has not showed and employed any empathy towards the American people who have been losing? Now that he wants to continue to stoke his base, he wants to continue to feed them the talking points, the narrative, the hate. Look, they're trying to give the money to the others. Look where they're trying to direct the dollars. Look with it. And that's because he wants to cause chaos in this country, and he wants people to fight for him because he's a megalomaniac, and that makes him feel better about himself. I'm so tired of the bullshit. I don't know about you, but we are all tired of the bullshit. And, the pointing fingers is the theatrical, political theater that they engage in. And listen, if you think that they're not all doing it, if you belong to a political party and you think that one of them is better than the other, then I got some land in Florida I want to sell you, because these people are trash. And the problem is that, he keeps talking about Congress. Is he talking about the homies? He's talking about, Turtle Man and them. I've lost all respect for everybody. I'm not calling people's names. Mitch McConnell is Turtle Man to me. So if anybody is confused about who I'm talking about, that's who I'm talking about. I'm really concerned about the people. I know people who are devastated right now by the economic loss in this country, who have been. I have someone in our family who was affected by COVID and received a $38,000 medical bill for the treatment for COVID. Like, these are the things that we are talking about in this country that we continue to overlook because we idolize this capitalism. We idolize being rich. We don't understand that all of this shit is by design. And the reason that we struggle and that we're poor is because they made it so that we had to be.